If you are able to bring your behavior into alignment with your intentions and unite your actions with your thoughts, if the mind and body begin to work as a single system, then it becomes possible to begin a new life. At the moment this new life is initiated, your feelings start connecting you with the external world. As you experience new events, you absorb information that then returns to the brain. And suddenly, philosophical concepts that previously existed only at the level of ideas begin to enrich you intellectually and internally. This is the power of lived experience. It literally develops the brain. When new neurons form connections and create neural networks, the brain produces chemical substances. These chemicals give rise to specific states and emotions. And when you begin to feel flow, a sense of ease and engagement, when trust in the unknown appears and faith in possibilities becomes stronger than attachment to the past, it is precisely at that moment that, through emotion, you teach the body what the mind has already understood at the level of ideas. This is the process of embodying philosophy in real life, transforming it into personal truth. In this way, you prove these principles to yourself, chemically teaching the body to perceive what the mind has grasped intellectually. Experiencing emotions that arise from interaction with new information begins to change gene expression. And if you have been able to do this once, you are capable of doing it again. It is repetition, neurochemical, bodily, conscious, that helps the mind and body begin to act as a unified whole. When you do something again and again, until the body understands it just as well as the mind, you reach the level of mastery. Your philosophy becomes part of your nature. That is why it is so important to move from philosophy to practice, from knowledge to experience, from reflection to action, from mind to body and soul. You possess all the necessary biological and neurological mechanisms for this. When you begin to apply these principles, without fearing mistakes, but trusting in their power, the very act of stepping into the unknown releases the energy needed to enter the flow. What do most people dream of? A state of flow, of ease, where everything happens by itself, where the world seems to open up in response to their presence. Yet most people spend almost all the energy of their conscious attention clinging to what is familiar and habitual. Why does this happen? Because the brain is a chronicle of the past, a reflection of everything you have already experienced and learned. If, upon waking in the morning, you do not connect yourself with the image of a new future, you automatically return to old neural patterns. You continue to think from the past. And if you trust your past more than your future, you inevitably return to familiar feelings. You see the same people, find yourself in the same places, repeat the same actions. And it is the environment that begins to dictate how you think and what you feel. If you think from the past, you should not expect anything new to appear. Flow is impossible where there is no movement forward. Most people hold on to the predictable and familiar. They need certainty because the unknown is frightening. It seems chaotic and dangerous. Often it is easier for a person to hold on to guilt than to take a step into the unknown. Easier to live in fear than to believe in possibility. The only path to the state of flow is a step into the unknown without the ability to predict the outcome. Yes, it causes discomfort. Yes, there is uncertainty and risk. But it is precisely in this emptiness that real magic is born. When you learn to remain in the unknown, you stop giving attention to the past and begin directing it toward a new future. Only by overcoming oneself is a person able to see new possibilities. Most people perceive their lives through the prism of the past, neurologically, emotionally, chemically. And only by stepping beyond the boundaries of the familiar self does a person begin to see what is possible. Even a brief moment of such transcendence, when you sincerely and passionately focus on a desired future while remaining in the unknown, initiates the process of creating a new experience first in the mind. This inner experience begins to generate emotions even before the event occurs in reality. And it is the acceptance of these emotions in advance that allows the brain and body to shift from living in the past to living in the future. Your body begins to chemically and emotionally sample the future before it becomes the present. And so, what if you have done the same thing day after day for years? True transformation begins the moment you transfer your energy from the past into the unknown future. This requires faith in a future you cannot yet see or directly feel. But you have thought about it so many times that your brain has begun to rewire itself, as if that future has already happened. Modern research on neuroplasticity confirms that the brain is capable of forming new neural networks, perceiving a mentally created event as if it has already occurred. A single sustained thought can trigger these processes. And if you begin to mentally rehearse who you will become, living in abundance, freedom, love, and inner richness, the very act of imaginatively living this future expands neural connections. The more often you return to this image, the stronger it becomes. Over time, it turns into a program, the foundation of your personality. You begin to act in accordance with your intention not because you force yourself to, but because you can no longer act otherwise. The main difficulty lies in teaching your body to feel the future before it becomes reality. Most people are psychological materialists. They believe only in what they can feel. They usually wait for abundance to appear in order to feel gratitude. They wait for relationships in order to feel love. They wait for healing in order to feel wholeness. They expect the external world to change first and then fill the inner emptiness. This is natural for a human being. But if you want to go beyond the ordinary and become extraordinary, this process must be reversed. Because when you begin to experience an emotion before the event has occurred, that emotion starts to influence gene expression and the physical state of the body in a new way. At that moment, you perceive the desired outcome as already accomplished. Research in the field of epigenetics shows that you are capable of activating and training genes even before the external environment changes. Practically speaking, this means the following. When you begin to feel abundance, self-worth, gratitude, and wholeness, you prepare your body for a new experience. When you maintain a new state, you vibrationally tune yourself to the future. If you continue to invest energy in this future for a sufficient amount of time, you will inevitably begin to receive feedback from life. And most often, it comes unexpectedly, not in the way you planned. This is the nature of the unknown. Synchronicities and coincidences begin to appear in your life. Events seem to respond to your thoughts. Ease in accepting opportunities, trust in the future, and the habit of thinking beyond the boundaries of the past allow the universe to arrange events in accordance with your energy and intention. And when flow becomes part of your life, when you clearly feel that you are a creator rather than a victim of circumstances, you enter a state of an open heart. In that moment, there is no sense of limitation. There is joy, a sense of dignity, and freedom. And you direct this energy toward creating the next experience. Our inner limitations exist only to the extent that our imagination allows them. Here, among people who deeply explore the nature of consciousness, there is often talk of access to a special informational space, the quantum field. It exists beyond the senses. It cannot be seen, heard, or touched. And yet it is precisely this energy that underlies the formation of thought, form, and matter. The higher your level of energy throughout the day, the more actively information is exchanged with this field. The longer you keep your attention in the future rather than in the past, the more stable this state becomes. High energy means a deeper connection with the field of possibilities and, as a result, more tangible outcomes in life. The unknown is not associated with fear at all. It is associated with feelings of awe, wonder, freedom, and joy, those very emotions that compel us to question the nature of reality itself. All over the world, ordinary people are beginning to do extraordinary things. And in my experience, they are no different from you. They heal from serious illnesses, experience profound mystical states, and free themselves from old emotional wounds that held them in the past for years. They create new professions, new relationships, new opportunities, simply because they are in flow. True self-transcendence begins with awareness of subconscious thoughts. Write them down. Track moments when you speak and act automatically. Observe your habits, reactions, and behaviors. Develop awareness to such a degree that it becomes your second nature. Then pay attention to the emotions that keep you in the past. Name them. Give them a label. You may discover that you have lived for years in guilt, hatred, or shame, considering them part of who you are. But the moment you are able to observe these emotions from the outside, you cease to be them. You become not the program, but the consciousness that observes the program. This is where the disconnection from the old self begins. This moves you into the space of possibilities, not as a separate particle, but as a wave containing all versions of reality. And remember, the longer you remain in a state of possibility, the longer you stay in the unknown, the more discoveries and miracles you will create in your life.